Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Marketing Legos Thought Leader interview. My name is Harshit. I'm the Director of Business Alliances of two amazing marketing SaaS tools, RankWatch and Websignals. And I have a very special guest with me today, 12 plus years of experience in digital marketing and founder of Toronto-based agency called dNovo Group. Shamil, a big welcome to you, buddy. I'm so happy to host you today.
Thank you. Thank you. Pleasure's mine.
Right. Let's start from the very beginning of your journey. What were you like as a young child, and how you made your way up, founding your own marketing agency and offering so many wonderful solutions?
Very open-ended question, but I mean, I at one point or another, I was studying political science in university, and I was dreaming of a job as a diplomat. And I went abroad. I went to Dublin, actually, to Ireland, and I did a master's degree in like international conflict studies and terrorism studies. And I came back. I was very idealistic going to that master's program, but when I came back, I became a realist. And I realized I don't want to work in anything government related or NGOs. And what I thought would be really cool is to be some sort of an account manager. I didn't think of it as like a career, what you want to get into, right? Like it's tech or engineering or finance. I thought about like, what do I want my day-to-day to be? And I feel that, that's the most important thing is like, because you could be in any field doing pretty much the same thing, right? And I wanted to be an account manager. And it's funny enough, I actually moved to Moscow for 3 months to work for like a business development consultancy, right after my master's degree. And I wasn't a big fan. A lot of bureaucracy, paper pushing, like, emails back and forth, like office job. So then I came back to Canada, and I lived in Ottawa at the time, and I moved to Toronto, and a friend of mine introduced me to my then boss, and he had a digital marketing agency in Toronto. I joined him in a very aggressive sales position, I would say. I'm talking about, this is like 12 years ago. I'm talking about, a room with no windows, a phone, and a Yellow Pages book, convincing people to get on Google at the time. And in a year, he made me a partner. So I started selling. I started selling aggressively. I started kind of maintaining and managing campaign. We had a very similar structure where the consultant or the sales guy was the same guy as the project manager, right? And then we had the development staff. So he would be responsible, for clients' happiness, upsells, and so on. And I mean, at the time, people were selling like different products, right? SEO was just kind of like, I want to say, starting out, as a product to sell on a regular basis. So it was all more about paid search at the time, right? And I mean, the industry's evolved ever since. But I mean, we did it all. We ranked actually for 3 years for web design and SEO Toronto on the first position. Nice. And we had about 30, 40 people working for us. And kind of, I started from consulting to, hiring, managing other people, and kind of evolved that way. And about 4 years ago, him and I split ways due to personal circumstances, I guess, on both our sides. So, and now we are where we are. It's funny because as we grew the company, we did a lot of, we had clients in virtually every field, from education. I had a huge tutoring franchise that's nationwide as a client, to developers and builders, to lawyers and hair transplant technicians, and in vitro fertilization clinics. But he kind of took on the medical side, and I just happened that way. Started working with a lot of lawyers, and when we split, it was kind of like a mutually agreed upon, I guess, consensus that, I didn't approach any of his, plastic surgeons and stuff at the time. Yeah. And then he kind of let my, I had a bunch of lawyers I work with. So we kind of split And I mean, we do some medical clients to this day, but we're really trying to focus in on legal search engine optimization, web designs for lawyers and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm. All right. So like law niche is your core expertise, even though you're serving some, hand-picked customers from other industries, but law is the main focus.
You know what it is? It's when him and I split, I would say lawyers were 30% of my business.
Okay.
Because the other 70% were just so spread out, I couldn't really group them into one category. Now lawyers are probably 60% of our business. But having said that, we do a lot of home improvement to this day. We just don't market. That's all word of mouth referral. These clients have been with us for a long, long time. Like, to put things in perspective, Mike Holmes, he's a TV personality. He has I built him 4 websites and we still do work for him. It's almost been 8 years since we've been working with him, right? So we don't advertise to take on those clients. We solely focus on, lawyers, as you mentioned. And we've significantly widened our grasp of what type of lawyers we work with and across which vertices, meaning so both geographically and in terms of specialization. So I would say we want to focus in that direction and keep going in that direction. Having said that, home improvement is still a significant part of our business. It's just we don't advertise or spend any effort kind of chasing those clients.
Gotcha. I think a lot of agencies have started to move into a niche industry specific, offering altogether, like, building the core expertise around just one industry, like law firm or just medical or, maybe just real estate, marketing agency. I would say, how do you weight those options altogether? What are the pros and cons when you go niche?
I think you realize that you can't please every client. And I feel it's a lot easier to market in a specific niche because you have some competitive advantages. It's pretty basic, but in reality, it's your portfolio, right? Like, it's who you work with. And I found that a lot of the new digital marketing agencies, and there's younger generation always coming up in this. It's a pretty young industry overall, right? It's rarely you see somebody who's 50 years starting an agency. Yeah, it's usually young people, and they kind of take it all. And I feel like a lot of the contractors, for example, and again, a lot of other industries, they are price shopping sometimes, right, or quality shopping. Where I find, like, if you go into like medical or legal, they want something in someone who's reputable, who has a portfolio, who has experience, somebody a bit more matured and seasoned. And most importantly, they look out for an agency who specializes in their niche, because in every niche, if you're doing home improvement and construction, it's kind of broad and it fits, everybody could do it, arguably. If you're working with, for example, medical or legal, in my experience, they expect you to specialize in their industry, because for medical, it's a lot of terminology. Content writing, demands specific writers, and you have to know your terminology both medically, and it has to be marketing enough. Same with law and legal, right? Like, you're dealing with different directories, different associations, content requirements, right? Content requirements, they range tremendously from state to state as well, right? Not just like jurisdiction, right? You could say certain things in one state, but you cannot say the same things. And when a client, engages you the first time and he realizes your knowledge of the industry, puts him at ease. For somebody who's just like, in Canada, for example, cannabis is a huge thing. And when cannabis came around, everybody jumped on cannabis, right? Now it's crypto. Now it's actually gambling, because Canada legalized online gambling recently. So there's these waves of guys who are trying to chase a niche where, law has been established. And again, maybe it's my academic background, having like a master's degree or I just seem to get along with lawyers. I mean, I have two of my siblings are lawyers, so it kind of my sister came up with the name of the company, arguably speaking. So it just kind of it was a perfect fit, I would say.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Let's talk about specific digital marketing service offerings dNovo Group has, and some of the core expertise.
You mean like what we offer?
Yeah.
The industry changes, and I remember how, in the beginning it was web design and get me on Google, right? People had no idea about the distinctions. Nowadays, clients are so educated, and as you mentioned, I have friends that work with lawyers and engineering firms, but they pivot towards branding, right? They will do your website, they'll do your, your letterheads, your business cards, they'll think about your slogans. We at dNovo kind of, I say it, we only have one product, and that product is to make your phone ring, or to get your leads. And however we do it is totally like, we have all the tools in place to accomplish that. But it's not that we specifically offer, one product. I mean, out of all our clients, I have only one gentleman who we run paid search only, because he's a lawyer, and he told me, he's like, Shamil, I'm a couple of years from retirement. I'm not necessarily interested to grow up and to blow up my practice. I kind of, so wanna maintain, I guess, a particular volume of files, and that's about it. Where for the rest of our clients, we take a 360 approach, right? So sometimes, and I encourage it, we design new sites for clients, right? And we start with the, planning, branding, web design, obviously SEO and content planning, content strategy. We work with local map optimization. Reputation is key for lawyers. I would argue to you that it's more difficult in some of the legal niches than others. But as a rule of thumb, I say to all my clients that we really have one product. And it really then depends on what the client wants, what their situation is. And then, certain aspects become more important. Also depends on the size of the firm, right? You have 2 locations, you have 10 locations across the country, like, or more, how many lawyers you have, right? How large is your marketing department? It's like some people operate 5 partners. They have maybe like an office manager, a couple of legal assistants, paralegals, this, that. But other firms have a whole marketing department who you can, cooperate with and work with, and they have slightly different requirements, I guess. So each client is absolutely unique. I will say this, it is important to kind of understand where they are in their growth cycle of a law firm, to understand their needs, right? Like, and I'm just saying it out there, some lawyers are very old school and very ethical, very by the book. They care so much about their appearance. And I would say most of them do, but some care more, right? How the wording is, what kind of perception people get. There are other industries that are a lot more competitive. And I don't want to say people have gray areas, because we work with clients who are ethically, maintain a certain level. But they're more open-minded to, and more aggressive in their marketing efforts. And I mean, I guess you could probably extrapolate that, like personal injury, for example, is an industry, like you'll see them on billboards, on the highways. They're more open-minded to kind of traditional advertising, to more aggressive advertising, where, a mergers and acquisitions lawyer would, or like a litigation, like a boutique litigation firm would have a completely different perception, right? And what they're after. So, and we have both, we cater to both those niches.
Gotcha. I really like the approach, the 360-degree approach, and not selling standalone services. For the fact that, I'm sure as an agency as well, it gives you better leverage. So say, for example, if one channel isn't, speeding up, working in your favor, at least you have other engines running that can still satisfy your client goals or help you achieve those numbers, whatever the commitment is, right? Than just chasing only one thing at a time. So yeah, I'm sure like it must be helping you with the retentions and all of those things as well, right?
I find that, and I have a client, he's a few years older than me, very successful businessman. He's a friend of mine. He's not a lawyer. He's actually in the construction field. And he told me, he's like, I tell my staff that, and he employs over 100 people. He says, I tell my staff that we're not in the business of construction or home improvement. We're in the business of customer service. The way we build dNovo is, at the end of the day, computer related and marketing related stuff for most senior lawyers and partners at the firm is something that's annoying. It's a problem, but at the same time, they want to address it. They want to have good marketing, but it frustrates them. Technology, generally speaking, frustrates people, right? Because it constantly changes. So I find that we're in the business of, not only marketing, but customer service, whether it is, addressing your reputation concerns, making sure you have quick changes on your website, or growing your business. We bring the value proposition. Like, I don't position myself as an SEO agency who's going to go from A to B, and do these services. We position ourselves as a turnkey partner. Anything related to your digital, we would solve, address, and if we're incapable to address it, we will find how to do it. You know what I mean? No matter what. Right? Like, I tell my clients, now we're doing ABC, fixing your website, doing SEO, doing paid search. I said in 6 months, we might have other concerns. You might, we do video production as well, right? So we kind of have a broad scope of services we offer. So whatever it is, we're here for you, type of thing.
That's very good. Let's talk about client onboarding and how's that experience, and what is the first 30 days look like for your clients, and what communication channels or team management platforms do you use for efficiently handling your operations altogether?
You're gonna laugh, but so internally, we use like a project management. We tried several ones, and I find Trello for us works the best. Simply because internal onboarding is simple, right? It's robust enough platform where you could make it do different things. There are better kind of tools out there, but they're more specific, and I find that they're more niche. The difference is in a digital marketing agency, I have to make a developer, right, coordinate and work with a graphic designer, a web designer, and a social media person. And I would argue to you that all of them use, they're different personalities, different ways of thinking, completely different people, right? Like, when you're working with coders and you're building something, right, it's very techy. When you're working with more creative people, they're different. And you have to combine all that, make it robust enough and easy enough to use. So Trello is excellent for us. As far as our clients, this is very, I guess, we use group chats. So we particularly use WhatsApp groups. And I know it's very simplistic, but we tried several times to make a client utilize a platform, right? Where they could see the progress, they could see the tasks, they could see the reporting, and it frustrates them. We took a look at the data. Nobody ever, I'm talking about specifically, lawyers. Yeah, you have, guys that are, heads of marketing in a law firm that could utilize it and use the platform, but they're so, they're so rare, because most of the time they know how to use it. They have the access, but they'll shoot you an email, you know what I mean? And then they'll text you. So it's so fundamentally basic, at the levels of communication, people don't remember. And I feel like the challenge with all these tools is, if you work and use them internally, you can implement them, right? Because you could tell your staff to use them, you can do trainings and encourage it, right? And if you're working with clients, it has to be convenient for them.
Definitely.
And, I'll give you an example, like Slack. I love Slack, right? Good luck, having a partner or a decision maker at a law firm use Slack. It's not going to happen, so it has to be convenient for them. And usually we work within a chat. Like, so obviously we send, monthly reports, and we're always available. We do consultations with the clients, like on Zoom calls or in person. But for their immediate response, I find WhatsApp works the best. And I would say 85-90% of our clients have the app. I'll create a group, and what I find very often, they will think that they need something, or they will, and it will be during the off times. It'll be either early morning, because a lot of lawyers get up early in the morning, or it'll be on the weekend or after hours. And they are not necessarily in front of their computer, or they don't want to type an email on their phone, but they have to, they want to remember it. So what they do is they'll send us a message in the team chat, what I mean? And somebody will address it, respond it, right? And I have all the different departments in there. So if it's related to paid search or reputation or graphic design, or the project manager, there's somebody there to address it all the time. And I find that that's kind of the pillar of our success, because it ties into that customer service aspect you and I just spoke of. As far as onboarding, I mean, it starts with a consultation. I mean, it takes some time to build trust, to do reporting. 9 times out of 10, I get the question asked, what are your packages? What are your pricing? Send it to us. And before, for years, we did something like that. I blatantly refuse to do that now. I said, because I said that you're a boutique, you're unique. For me to send you packages, it's disrespect and disservice to your firm. I said, what I can do is I can spend, some time and analyze and build you a game plan of what, but then I'll present that game plan to you over a Zoom consultation, right? This is what I would do if I was running the marketing of your law firm, right? And I feel that people respond to that really, really well. We build a boutique kind of custom program, and I ask them onboarding questions, right? How many team members, how aggressively they want to go. Some law firms prefer slow organic growth. Some of them want leads tomorrow, you know what I mean? So it really depends on a lot of factors.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, the world is now shifting to, and brands also realize it, the benefit of done for you service instead of just chasing those, packages, which is
exactly
not all shoes fit everyone, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about your design and development approach. Which factors do you consider, like SEO friendly factors do you consider while coming up with a design altogether? And also, like, which platforms do you mainly work with, which kind of satisfies your organic sense, to be honest?
It's a really good question. Ever since I started in this industry over a decade ago, it's been changing, so in the beginning, it was all about templates, right? Then, because it's easy, cost of the client is low, and as the SEO game was evolving and changing, things like speed, right? Things like updates came into effect. So you started developing these themes, right? Which evolved into builders, right? And now you can have a theme that's, working in conjunction with the builder. I'm talking about WordPress right now, right? So we've went from Divi like 8 years ago to Elementor, to now we only build custom WordPress sites. The core Web Vitals, kind of changed the game.
Yep.
And, our own website, it was initially designed on Divi years ago. Then we moved it to Elementor. Now it's completely, custom fields, custom coded. And it's also, so how do you approach the design, right? The problem with the theme, in my opinion, is that you need a person that will work right away on the theme. And to find that staff is a lot more difficult, meaning that because you don't get to use, you could, usher a design and make the backend work on a theme. But one of the selling pitches that we used to utilize, while selling like a theme-based or builder-based website is that instead of drawing it and then slicing it, or designing it and slicing it, you could see kind of as the website's evolving and as I'm changing things live, right? And the clients would get a link in the early stages and they would kind of see as the process goes. But it was an advantage if you have the right staff that could do that. But you and I know that most of the people are either designers or developers, right? Yep. And throughout years, I've had some phenomenal designers who were trained coders usually with the design sense, which is like a rarity. They're like the unicorns, right? Because most people are either technical or creative, right? And nowadays we kind of, because of core web vitals and the speed requirements, we prefer to work with I'm talking about like last 3-4 years, we only build custom WordPress sites, right? And one of the biggest advantages is also less maintenance in my experience, right? Themes, builders, templates, I hate that word, but they all require updates, right? They require maintenance, plugins could be heavy, they need updates. So we with a custom site, it requires a bit more work and maintenance, but if you have the right infrastructure, it's arguably better for you.
Gotcha. And I'm also personally like a big fan of custom WordPress sites, and from the design point of view as well, I like something which is very unique, not available for anyone. So that's again one of the things that I love about it. But then, your upfront cost basically increases, right? You'll be dedicating more resource to begin with. I've also seen one more shift, and that has happened, started to happen recently, that people are moving more onto mobile first design, mobile first approach altogether. And then, think about any other device, desktop and all. I think one of the reasons is Google itself, like back in 2019, mobile first indexing, all of those things happened. So maybe that's the trigger. But is there any such protocols that you follow? And when it comes to like the responsiveness of it, all of those elements at a very, basic level, at a design level, or like how exactly do you proceed?
Of course, and it's really relevant question. You're right. When you're dealing with, when the industry was dealing and preferring themes and templates, right? They were all responsive, but you and I know that they are until they're not, and content's displayed, too much content. So when you design a site on a Figma or whatever you use nowadays, we design it in mobile as well as the desktop version right away. So we would show the client which content would be displayed on mobile and how it would look right away, because and again, it comes to the niche factor, right? If you're in the crypto or tech space or even real estate, I would say that the clientele will be more aware of the needs of mobile, where a lot of the legal professionals, they know it has to be mobile friendly. They all mobile is important, but they don't really grasp the concept. They don't know the statistics behind it. And you and I, you just mentioned it, right? 50+ at this point % of searches are on mobile. So they know it's important, but they don't really know what it entails, right? And most people don't realize that you could display different content on mobile device than you would on a desktop version. So as part of our onboarding, we do a lot to educate, right? We show them the statistics and we kind of focus. Like learning is everything, right? Like when we get technical and we give specific advice, if you're unaware, it seems odd to you, right? But if you understand why it's happening, I tell all my clients, I say in 6 months, you're going to be a digital marketing expert. You're going to learn things that you haven't learned before. And a lot of them have that approach, that, oh, I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to, you just do it and that's it. That's all. But unfortunately, for them to see value, you have to educate. And I find that a lot of people don't bother. It's a lot easier to just kind of say, yeah, don't worry about it, I'll do it. They don't explain it. But then that creates conflicts later on, right? Like, oh, why is my thing like this and not like that? And then it's too late to explain to them, because you haven't kind of held their hand along the way. And I find that it's that partnership, right? Not only do you take care of their technical needs, but you also earn their trust, and you don't disappoint, right? And it's Google, it's search engine, and there's Google updates, and it's technology. Things break all the time, right? Whether hosting could be down, websites can get hacked, right? And I feel like it's the response and it's how you respond to those challenges that really solidifies that relationship and establishes that trust and brings the relationship to the next level. So
I was looking into one of the platform. I wasn't aware of that until very recently. It's called Duda. It's pretty popular. I saw like in Australia and US a lot, and even Google kind of like boosted them up, saying it's one of the good platform when it comes to core web vitals and all of those aspects. Do you leverage like anything else similar in line apart from WordPress, or just focusing entirely on WordPress?
Listen, most of our clients are service-based, right? So whether they're legal professionals or we do a lot of, we have educational clients, right? We developers, builders, a lot of home improvement, but they're all service-based businesses, right? We have a couple of e-commerce clients as well. Guys that offer both brick and mortar and e-commerce options, and obviously we work with Shopify, and we work with WooCommerce, and we even at certain points in the development of the agency, we even work with Magento. But as you said, you got to specialize and pick your battles, right? You could need completely different staffing, licensing, hosting requirements, right? It's more number intense, right? Less I guess it's lead oriented as well, but it's a completely different focus. So we do offer support, and we work with Shopify intensely as well as WooCommerce. Other than that, we prefer to kind of stick to our niche. I mean, we have clients right now who have websites on React, and we do some work for them, but we want to pick our battles. Very strategic, right? Staffing, right? What are your core competencies, right? If I know that most of my clientele are, sitting on a WordPress site, and believe it or not, like, I don't know if you heard of Scorpion. It's an agency in the States. They have a proprietary marketing, platform and a system. Essentially, like, you log in and everything they do for you, like with analytics, they're huge, and on one side, it's great for them, and they have a lot of business. But I've had clients approach me saying that, like, we don't want to, work with Scorpion because we're tied into their, system and their infrastructure. And I would argue to you, if Scorpion was as big as Shopify, where it's a whole ecosystem and the whole world knows what it is, and, then people would, I guess, be open-minded to be in that, within that framework. But until you get to that point, I think it's still, you want to work with an open source, platform where you could. I tell my clients, tomorrow you and I, we don't like each other anymore, and you want to move on. You have all the tools. You're not relying on my backend or my CMS system. You can go to anyone. I'm working for you because you choose to work. We choose to work with each other, not because I'm holding you hostage or you signed up or locked in for a year with our contract.
Yeah, I completely. It's a big pain point actually. Very correctly mentioned it. So it's not just Scorpio. Like there are a lot of platforms like that, and even a lot of agencies which basically do not share asset. That they built for that particular brand they're working with. I mean, earlier it was more or less just about people holding hostage of the PPC account, not sharing details with the customer.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
yeah, it has been. It's very unfortunate that in today's age also people do that.
I have a theory. I have a theory why it's happening, and I think it comes back to personality types, right? I think that if you're an engineer, a great coder or developer, and I get this all the time, like, oh, my code is clean, his code is not, and I feel like if you build a great product and you have this great system, but it's absolutely utterly useless unless you could market it, use it, and utilize it properly and convince clientele and onboard clientele to use it. And it comes back to the needs of your clients, right? And again, nothing against Scorpion, they're doing fine, and all the hat off to them, because they're one of the bigger ones. There's many others, as you mentioned, but at the end of the day, an average client who, for example, heard of Google Analytics would not necessarily want to use a proprietary one-stop shop. Like, you know what I mean? It'd be a stepping stone for them to jump into that, where they know that everything is arguably free and there's this open source tools. And I find that, we work for our clients, we service them, and it's all about what they need and what they're comfortable with. To make somebody locked into a contract or to hold hostage their Google AdWords account, especially when you work with lawyers, like talking about suing each other, like it's a disaster, so we're completely, listen, I believe in positivity and positive karma. We have clients, believe it or not. I had one recently. We've done work for them for about a year. COVID started, and we've built up their organic presence to a very high level. They wrote a testimonial for us. We have a link on the website, but one of the partners' husband is a marketing consultant, and we worked with him while we worked on their SEO, and he runs their own paid search, and he's very knowledgeable. He can put together some content and upload it on the website. And when COVID started, we parted ways. We still do favors for them here and there. We have a database that they utilize of subscriptions and associations that they're part with. And recently they gave us a referral. Like, they haven't been a paying client for 2 years, but we have, and they just gave us a referral because, they might not need or have the need to spend money with us now. They're in a very small niche in the legal field, right? So that's how we operate. And I feel that, if I am trying to help others, and make it convenient for them, where a lot of developers or more technical oriented people, they think about, oh, I'm going to host your website, or I'm going to, run your AdWords on my account, type of thing. And that's not how we do things here, but it works for some. It's definitely a business strategy. All right. Yeah. It's a strategy to retain your clients. I don't believe in it.
Oh, that's wise. That's wise of you. Let's talk about your SEO process, man. What are the steps that you follow when you get a new client on?
The trade secrets. It's funny because when you work in the field for a long time, you have an update, and then you have the speed and the mobile friendly and the mobile first, and then you have your pandas and your penguins, and at the end of the day, it's just like what you and I were talking about, philosophy, right? You do good with your clients, you do well for them, you don't hijack their accounts or hold them hostage to you. You let them go if that's the way to go, and call it karma. Sure. I find that with Google, in my opinion, it's the same. It's the same in my experience. It's the same thing, right? What has changed in the last 10 years, right? I'm talking about once Google kind of weeded out all the gray hat and black hat, build good content, build fast websites, build mobile-friendly websites. Make sure you you have engaging information on the website, right? Your social media, your videos definitely help. Has link building changed? Absolutely, right? It's went from all kinds of black and gray hat SEO to PBMs being punished, and to entire networks of websites getting penalized. A couple of years ago, was it the medical update? Where the medical websites got hit. But at the end of the day, it goes up and down, and it comes back to my point. I make my clients realize early on that there is us and our expertise, and we're really good at what we do. There's them that instill their trust in us, and work with us and trust us to not only maintain and update, but to make them money, to make sure that their phone rings, as I like to say. And then there is Google, right? And I always use an example of all these hurricanes that come, right? Like, we have craziest tools to predict the weather, right? We're sending people into space, but then you'll have a storm that nobody seemed to inspect, and Mother Nature has the last laugh. So I find that Google is kind of like that, right? Like, unfortunately or not, right? Yeah, we have competitors that do this all the time, right? They'll overtake certain niches for 6 months, sometimes a year, right? You'll see a website who's like 2 years old, just go up there with thousands of backlinks, very mechanical content, but is it engaging? Are they converting? The traffic that they have into sales, and what kind of clientele they're getting with that approach. And they're there today, and they might not be there tomorrow. And I've seen it over and over again, right? I think it's getting up every morning and having consistent effort to do the best you can for your clients and clients' website and SEO, right? Build good content, push the social media. If a client's interested in video production, YouTube marketing, right? Obviously, your retargeting, helps. Track, your KPIs, track your deliverables, try to lower your cost, of client acquisition, and natural organic growth. I always say it's a long-term game, right? And clients appreciate it now. 10 years ago, they weren't. It's all about who can get me up there. People didn't know what penalties were and Google bans. But I guess it's a good thing. The client is a lot more educated, so you can really separate a good sales guy, versus somebody who actually delivers and has a good product. The fly-by-night tactics, I mean, they still work, some of them, but your clientele becomes more and more educated, and they're looking for a partner they can trust and work with long time. Right. And it's just like the stock market, right? I've recently been playing in the stock market, and if you continuously invest, right, long term, the market always goes up, and it's very difficult to beat the market. I would argue probably impossible for 95% of the people. It's the same thing with SEO, right? You could try to be smarter than everybody else, but there's a chance that it's going to only last for a particular time.
That's true. And since you've been working with omnichannel, almost for your every client that you serve, you're doing ads, you're doing social media, you're doing SEO, right? How do you align your goals, towards that common big big client objective that you're chasing altogether? Work all of them in synergy and reach to that particular goal.
In the medical field, there's a term called practice management. It refers to there are consultants who help doctors, right, run successful businesses, and it's not commonly used in the legal profession. I mean, there are professional consultants and business coaches, but it's not really referred to as practice management. But I would argue to you that part of our offering to the client is that for any business, right? But and where most people, when they do the onboarding of the client, they talk about how old is your website, you know, how many people you have. I focus more on like, where are you in your professional development, right? Both budget wise, where do you see yourself now in 6 months, in a year, in 5 years? I always ask what's your, you know, logistical infrastructure looks like. And people first are shocked, you know, by that question. And I said to them, you know, are you working by yourself? You're just starting out. You have one assistant. Are you guys 2 lawyers? You're swamped, you know, and we have law firms that have marketing departments that we work with. Our work there is a bit more on looking a lot more like a consultant, right? Where we create the plan, we do the link building, we do certain things, but certain things are done in-house. We teach, educate, and instruct their team how to do it because they have a team. Some other clients, you know, they're like, no, I need you to take care of everything, right? Some people are aligned and they have their own traditional media guys, right? So their graphical stuff is done. You know, their even web changes or their IT support is done obviously by somebody else. So same with social media. For lawyers, social media, in my opinion, I mean, a litigation lawyer or a corporate lawyer would need social media for appearance, right? You want to make sure it's relevant. You update it regularly. You know, you can run some branding campaigns on it. You know, is a CEO of another company going to call you about a merger and acquisition, you know, because he saw your ad on Instagram or Facebook? Not very likely, you know. But if you are a respected firm, right, when people research you and look to your website, they often, you know, go and look at your social media and look at your overall presence. So it's very, very important, right? If you're dealing with immigration or personal injury law, you know, I would argue to you that social media plays a bit more, you know, a bit more aggressive and strategic role in those vertices, right? They advertise a lot, you know, heavier. It really depends on the niche, you know, the logistical capabilities, financial capabilities. And some people are like, listen, we're swamped, we're busy as is, but we want the trickle down effect. You know, we want new business to come in from the internet. What I'm hinting at is they might not necessarily be interested in paid search solutions, right? There is a consensus in the industry that, and I'm sure you heard of that for professional services, I'm talking about where trust is involved, like lawyers, doctors, organic search leads are of better quality than paid search leads. It's not necessarily true all the time, but that's a consensus. And again, because lawyers, I mean, generations are changing, but, you know, majority of the decision makers are, you know, more seasoned individuals. They tell me themselves, right? Like, I never click on the paid search. Like, you know, it's all about organic trust. So we try to align their vision of their law firm. It's very difficult to take somebody who's 65, who has a 35-year career, you know, in law, who's sitting on boards and advisory boards, and who's like, you know, creme de la creme of a particular, like, he's known in the industry. It's difficult to convince them to run social media tacky marketing campaign. You know what I mean? He won't have it. So it's aligning the vision, I would say to you, is the first thing. And man, clients are so different from one to another. Both, you know, mentality too, like West Coast law firm versus you know, Chicago-based law firm have different values, different visions, and different type of business ethics, and how aggressively they view marketing or not, you know.
I completely agree. And let's talk about, because like reputation management again is like a big part of your day-to-day operation. How do you basically plan and go about repairing a bad reputation?
You're gonna laugh, but I think the first step is to make sure that the client realizes the detriments of a negative reputation. And some of them realize it because they've had a bad experience, and that's why, you know, part of the services we provide is to fix it. but some of them don't. And I feel like to have the right, mechanisms within the firm, we're going back to practice management to avoid angry, unhappy clients, and to do everything in our power not to allow this to happen again, is to catch it early on and to reach out and try to alleviate, the potential negative review or negative, even worse article on some publication about you. And I think that's number one, because you and I know we can do all the greatest marketing, but if somebody doesn't pick up their phone, or they provide bad service, or they don't get back to you, it's just a Pandora's box for negative reviews and bad feedback. So that's number one. Number two is we try to be proactive, meaning that, you would do review generating campaigns, like outreach campaigns on several vertices and several clients to make sure we dominate, the first page of our, our brand searches. So when somebody looks us up, we don't have to, what's the word I'm looking for? We don't have to repair. If you have all the right, reputation, and you have your 5 stars and positive reviews, it's a lot harder to ruin it, right? Because one negative review might not necessarily be as detrimental. Where if somebody neglected their reputation, yeah, they have some positive reviews, and then somebody goes in on, arguably speaking, Yelp and puts a 1 star, all of a sudden, it's just very apparent, and it causes grief. So that would be the second step, is to make sure that so the first step was, make sure that we respond and we're responsive, and we don't get negative reviews, because, on the client side. The second one, to have, a strong positive presence, that even, 1 or 2 or 3 negative reviews would not really, slant things in our favor. And then sometimes, it is pushing down those negative reviews and those websites, reaching out to clients or webmasters, right? Asking to remove the reviews, because a lot of them are unreasonable. Like, it's very rare that, out of the 10 negative reviews, I would argue with you that at least 5 are, either fake, or people are, they don't leave their name, right? Or it might be competition. Like, they're not really, right? Or even if they are real not based on the service, but based on experience. So I called them, nobody called me back. You never engaged them. You never did business with them. They never served you. And it happened to me. Like, I had a client on the phone, a lady who was, I remember this like it was yesterday. She did personal training, some sort of, very sophisticated, and she was asking for a quote on the website. And I gave her the broad spectrum. I said, what do you want on that website? And she started talking about, booking softwares and client reminders and outreaches, and integrating it with this API and that API. And I gave her a broad spectrum. I said that, in the industry, it could go from here to there. I literally spent 40 minutes on the phone, and I was not trying to be condescending, or, I was trying to be educational. And I said that maybe, we started this and then we would build it up, because from what I gathered, she was just starting her business. She hung up the phone with me and wrote a review on our website. This is the old company that I was, when I had a partner, that I implied, or she felt that I implied, that she has no money. This is a cold call. I spent 40 minutes of our time. We got really specific. I showed her samples. We started discussing, and I was so appalled. I picked up the phone and I said, it wasn't my intention whatsoever. I'm so sorry that you took me that way. Yeah. And she said, well, that's how I felt. And she hung up the phone on me. Like, she was mean, and what I learned that day is that you can't please everyone. And some people are just crazy, and I never did business with her. Most people, they take 24 hours to respond to emails, if that. I arguably speaking, one of the executives of the company that spent 40 minutes trying to provide her advice, and this is what I got. So just imagine, it was a growing experience for me, but I'm in the space. I know how it works. You know, sometimes clients, they get this negative review, they're furious, and they start, the first reaction, I don't even know this person, right? How could they? Like, they get angry. How can I sue them? Like, what can I do? And I tell them that you can't avoid it. It's going to happen, but it's like overall philosophy and positivity. You don't let this thing stick on you. You smile, you shake it off, right? And you please 10 other clients, and that you get 10 other positive reviews. Because dwelling on it, in my experience, you reply to the review, they'll go write 3 more, right? You'll flag the review. Let's say you get it removed. If they're angry enough, they'll ask half their family members or their colleagues to write, or their friends to write more negative reviews. It's a downward negative spiral. So stay positive, do good work, and do proper reputation management.
Makes sense. All right, so we're coming to an end here, and Shamil, I would like to have a quick rapid fire with you. Are you ready for that?
Let's do it.
If you could travel back in time, what period would you go to?
In my life or in any time zone? 1970s.
Why?
I'm a political science major, right? Right after the Vietnam War, 60s, era of love. And I find that for me personally, it was a very interesting political turmoil era, right? Like socialist movements in Europe, completely different Europe, different North America, the American dream, so I thought it'd be a cool period to live in.
Brilliant. What do you prefer, texting or talking?
Talking, definitely talking.
What motivates you to get out of bed in the morning?
That's a tough one. What motivates you to get out of bed? I think we all set goals, and our goals, if we're younger, they're, I guess, more materialistic. Arguably, I want to be successful. I want to have, provide for my family. Now they're more accomplishment-based and value-based. You want to occupy, a certain niche. You want to do certain good. And I guess it's a philosophy. I'm a big proponent of The Miracle Morning. It's the book that actually a client recommended. I read it, and it's all about, do the things that are good for you, like affirmation, meditation, exercise, reading, jotting down your ideas, but do it all in the morning, and that way it's like a routine that sets you up positively on your day. And also, I'm a lot more driven now by, having the flexibility to not only grow the business, but know that I provide and I, employ X people and their livelihoods and their growth and their development, I relies on me and my arguably success. And it's a feeling of satisfaction. Very important with who you work with, the team. Make sure that you move forward as a team.
Very wise. Anything new professionally happening in your life?
We do some work south of the border already. I'm talking about the United States, but I've been a member of the Lawyer Marketing Association. It's a North American, organization, and I've been to a number of conferences, Florida, Texas, San Francisco, and I'm planning to spend more time south of the border, to kind of set up a physical office in Florida, and to kind of I guess expand that way, because when I started dNovo, right, I can't say I started it because I already had a large pipeline of clients and staff. It was rebranding, if anything. We had clients, in a large portion of Canada and a couple of states in the States. Now we cover Canada coast to coast. We have clients in every province, and I think that's the next logical move.
Right. And coming to my last question, what's some of the best business advice you've ever gotten?
Easy does it. Slow, consistent effort every day. It's a long-term game. I was listening to a Joe Rogan podcast on training, and they were comparing, North American school of wrestling with Russian school of wrestling. And they were saying that in North America, it's all about training super hard twice a day, going 90%, right? And then let's say 4 or 5 days out of the week, where in the old Soviet style of wrestling, you train every single day, but you go at your 70% and you maybe do 6 days out of the week, right? And the gentleman, was for us, the hobby that was talking, he was the Joe Rogan, he's a coach for St. Pierre. And he said that over the long careers, athletes in North America, athletes they peak quicker, they get injured quicker, and they burn out quicker, and I find that, just like you asked me, what makes you get up every morning? I think focusing on what makes you get up, being happy inside, and bringing positivity, energy, new ideas, and self-growth, right? Do it every day on a consistent effort, rather than try to peak, burn out, start overly drinking. And I feel that if you could figure out your bases, your pillars that make you happy and make you get up every morning, and you look at long-term goals, and it gives you internal happiness. As far as business advice, a lot of people, they're here 1 year, then the next year something happens in their life, or they peak and they change industries, and then they're not stable and they're not consistent, right? Yep. So everyday consistent effort. That's definitely.
Thank you so much, man, for all the time, all the valuable tips and lessons that you have shared. Really, from the core of my heart, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.